Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another goal check-in video where I share how my goals are going for the year. I do these videos every month where I just check in, how did my goals go last month and all the goals that I have set for the upcoming month. And because we are about to start a new quarter, things look a little bit different. So this video will be my September goals check-in, how all my action steps have gone or are going in September, and then how I feel about my Q3 goals overall. And then tomorrow, there will be a bonus video tomorrow going up that will be my Q4 goals and my October goals. And I'm excited to share those with you. But jumping the gun, let's talk about September 1st. I am filming this video a little bit on the early side. I feel like I say that every month because it's September 17th. It's barely halfway past the month, but I also feel this pull for this video to go up like as soon as the month starts. And so in order for myself and my editor to have enough time to like not lose our minds and get this video up at the end of the month, beginning of the next month, sometimes I just have to film these videos a little bit on the early side. But at the same time, I do always feel good about commenting on what I've done so far and what I'm still planning to prioritize for the next 2 weeks. Like in my mind, I am filming this video, but September is not over. That is something, that's a mindset I did used to struggle with, where I'd be like, oh, I filmed my goals video. Okay, goals are done. Let's forget about it. And I'm not like that anymore. I do like to still focus on my goals. And one thing that's helped with that is I share my goals on a weekly basis on the live chat. So if you want to see, like, I'm gonna show you this page as of today, September 17th. But if you wanna see what it looked like, well, the 18th will look, the live on the 18th will look very similar, but the live on the 25th, check out the live and click to the goals section and you can see what that looked like on that date. So let's start with the one-time steps for September. So the first 3 were all related to spending less time on my phone. So I chose 3 numbers to focus on: my average amount of time on Instagram, my average amount of time playing games, and then my total screen time on my phone. And my goal was to just lower the number from August. I have the schedule box checked on these, but you can't really schedule time for them. But what I do in terms of scheduled time is, as part of my morning routine, I do track these numbers every single day. So, okay, not every day, Laken. I do miss days, but I go back and add in the prior days. So I just printed out a calendar from the internet, and every morning I write out how much time I spent on Instagram the day before, games, and the total amount of screen time. And to check in with my progress, halfway on September 15th, I actually went ahead and calculated where I was at for the month. So I took all the numbers, and so far my Instagram average is actually up compared to August. It's not up that much, but it is higher than it was in August. So that is unfortunate. It is possible that I can still have a check mark in the complete section, right? I could still lower it, but I'd have to go a lot lower than the average in the second half of the month, but we'll see. We'll see if I can prioritize that. Maybe I should lower my limit to help me with that. The math nerd in me loves this kind of stuff. I love data. I love numbers. If talking about data and numbers related to goals stresses you out, then just like ignore me when I talk about those things. You don't need to do that to be successful, but it does work for me and my math brain. So what I could do is to figure out like where I was on the 15th, what do I need to average per day to actually lower the number? I could calculate that and lower my limit to that. Maybe I may do that. I know I say this every month too. I get so much from filming these videos. I hope that you do too. If you're here watching, I hope that you feel like you get something out of watching these, but I always come up with an idea when I'm talking to you. So thank you for listening. Next one, game average was lower and total average was lower. The next one-time step was to finish a book, and this was related to spending less time on my phone. My logic was if I spend less time on my phone, then I will spend time reading and therefore finish a book. Now, the irony is that when I did my September list and filmed that video, there was still like maybe 10 days left in August. And the book that I had in my head when I wrote this down, I finished before September even started. I got, to that point in the book where it was so good and I didn't want to put it down. And so I finished it. I felt like that would be cheating if I just checked it off. So I didn't. I just said, okay, it will count as the next book in the series. So I haven't finished that. I've made progress on it. Again, I still have almost 2 weeks. It is very possible that I finish that book by the end of the month, but even if I don't, I still feel good about the progress I'm making on reading. The next one-time step was to finish one photo album. Haven't even scheduled time for it. It's probably just not gonna happen at this point, and I could probably just cross it off. The next one was to plan our Halloween party, and I am making progress there, and I feel good about the progress I've made at all because this was always gonna be a late September goal. I talked about this in the September goals video that we had a very busy month. Every weekend, either somebody was visiting or we were out of town except the last weekend. So this was always going to be a end of September goal anyway. So very possible that this still happens that last weekend in September. However, we also pushed our Halloween party back 2 weeks. So it is also possible that I don't do it in September because I still have plenty of time in October to finish that one-time step. The last one was to do 10 monthly tasks. I have made progress. Obviously, I've done, I don't know how many, but at least one, hence the check mark in the progress section. But I don't know that I'm going to finish 10. It's been a weird month, and unless I push myself that last weekend in September, which is possible, and I could get to all 10, but I may also not and just accept it and move on to October with a fresh start. That is a mindset I've been working on this year when it comes to like cleaning and household things, is that if I have the mindset of trying to play catch up, I am always going to be trying to play catch up, always. And so I am sometimes better off just saying like, I'm not gonna get to all of those in September and we'll start fresh in October. Okay, the weekly steps. I feel like before I get into the weekly steps, I do need to also comment on the fact that September took a little bit of a pivot. So we were originally supposed to be out of town, and that trip got canceled because of the hotel strikes. And in an ideal world, we would have taken that extra time that, you know, my husband and I had at home, that we were originally going to be away, that we had blocked off work and like gotten a bunch of things done. But unfortunately, we kind of had that mentality. I should not speak for him. He got a lot of random things done, like random household things that needed to get checked off. He got a lot done. I struggled a little bit, especially the first few days. I was kind of, it was almost like similar to that funk at the beginning of the pandemic where you're like, I have all this free time, but I'm also like mentally struggling with what's going on and kind of in a bad mood about it. And so then I just like wanted to play with Lila or like sit on the couch and watch TV and not actually do other things. So that was kind of the first couple of days, and it took me a while to kind of get out of that. So overall, that I think impacted a lot. You'll see that on the weekly and the daily. It is what it is. So let's talk about the weekly steps. First one was to use a bath product. I haven't even taken a bath the last 2 weeks, so let alone used a bath product. If that happens the next 2 weeks, awesome. If not, it's okay. 10 weekly tasks. This is where putting a number on your weekly items becomes detrimental. And actually, I think I'm gonna have the same feelings on a daily one too. I've done more than 0, right? I'm not getting the check mark here because I didn't hit 10, but I definitely have done more than 0. And I should have put the little number there next to it like I've done in the past to acknowledge that I did more than 0, right? And it's hard. Like, I feel like I originally had it on the daily and then I moved it to the weekly, but now I'm looking at it and it's like, did I actually do anything? And it's like, I did. So all that to say, that's my hesitation when it comes to putting a number on a goal. The next one was to do a new recipe resource. This was not the month for that. Didn't happen. Likely isn't going to happen the next 2 weeks. The one weekly task that has some check marks is working out. And that one, I'm very glad that I added it to my goals, because had it not been on this goal sheet, I probably wouldn't have done it. I would have been like, just forget it. I'm not going to worry about it. But because it was here and I was getting those check marks and I was going to share that with you, that held me accountable to doing some. I haven't done a ride, but I've done a handful of strength classes and that feels really good. Actually, I didn't even check off. I did one this week. Like, it looks like I didn't do anything this week. Well, I haven't done anything, but I did one strength class. Okay. Daily steps. I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place. In full disclosure, I actually already recorded this video, but I recorded it without audio. I'm recording it again. Okay. Yay, new camera, learning settings. All right, daily steps. First one was to play the piano every day. And this one not only feels good, I haven't done it every day. I never expect myself to do something every day, but it finally feels like I am enjoying it and I'm doing it enough so that I don't forget about it, right? I'm doing it enough so I keep that momentum going, but I'm also not forcing it. There was definitely a time in my life where I was taking piano lessons and it felt forced. Practicing felt forced and annoying, not something I wanted to do. And I wanted this to be enjoyable and a hobby and something I wanted to do. And I feel like I've accomplished that. And like, I'm excited to take it off my goals and just have it be a part of my life. The next one was Instagram limit. That one's probably about 50-50 looking at it. Clearly Not enough to lower my total average though. We already kind of talked about that one. The next one was going through photos on my phone. And this one has actually gone really, really well this month. I feel really good about it. There was only 2 days this month that I didn't go through any photos on my phone. And that was absolutely me riding the wave of momentum from the end of August. So one of the goals I had was to create a slideshow of my daughter's of pictures of and videos of her for her first birthday party. And so I spent the last week of August like powering through, going through photos on my phone to work on that slideshow. And I definitely just rode that momentum wave into September and have made a lot of progress on photos, and it feels really, really good. The next one was to get a walk-in. This was both fresh air for both me and Lila, but also to get some steps in, and I've done that most of the days, so that feels really good. The next one was water. And this is, again, where putting a number kind of, I think, can be a little bit detrimental. So my goal, my water goal, I know it doesn't say that there, but my water goal is to drink 3 of these. Like, this is my water container, and my goal is to drink 3. Most days I get through 2. There may have been like one day I only got 1 because we were at a football game and I was trying to avoid having to go to the bathroom. But I definitely drank liquid that day. It just was not water. But my goal is to get 3. Most days I get 2. And then I get the check mark when I get 3. When you look at this page, you can see that I didn't get the check mark a lot of the days. But the days that I didn't get the check mark didn't mean that I didn't drink any water. It probably meant that I had 1 or 2 of them. And so I feel like by looking at this, it doesn't make me feel as good as I want it to, if that's making any sense. What I think would make me feel better is if I actually wrote down the number I did, right? Whether it was 1 or 2 or 3. With 3 being the goal. And then I could actually see like the progress that I'm making. And I do have all the data actually. So again, with the numbers and the data nerd over here, I use an app in my phone called Habit where I track my habits on a regular basis. And I can go back and see which days I got 1 and which days I got 2. So I could calculate. At the end of September, I could calculate and say, I got whatever, 62, I don't know, that feels like that might be what the number is, 60 to 70 things of water. And then my goal for October could be to do more. Even though my daily goal is 3, I could have an overall October goal. That is probably making it way more complicated than it needs to be. Goals don't have to be this complicated. So if I almost want to like take back everything I just said. For me, I think doing something like that would really help acknowledge the progress that I am making that you can't see on this piece of paper. But at the same time, there's so much check marks here. I'm still working on my water, and that feels good. The last one was to close all the rings on my Apple Watch, which I've done. Well, last week you can see, like I talked about, that didn't go well. Other days have been going well. I'm glad I put this one on my goals, but at the same time, I don't know that it's really pushing me to do anything, except maybe get like 1 more stand goal on some days. But frankly, most days I do what I do and I just like I'm tracking the numbers and getting the check marks or not getting the check marks. Truthfully, also my Apple Watch this is not really related to goals, but just aside, my Apple Watch is not holding a charge for the whole day anymore. And I looked up and it's almost 5 years old. I got it for Christmas in 2019. So I think that it might be time to say goodbye to my Apple Watch. I have my Oura Ring, which does track my steps and things as well. So I don't know that I necessarily need a new Apple Watch. It would feel weird. I have a tan line that I would need to work on here, but it might be time to say goodbye. Okay, overall, September was good. Not great, not the worst. Given everything else we had going on emotionally, schedule-wise, it feels okay. All right, let's talk about quarterly goals. So since we're talking about personal, let's just continue the conversation about personal, and I'm gonna share my thoughts on all my personal goals. If you've been around, you know that my bigger goals, quarterly, annual, are more vague. It's not necessarily gonna be like a yes, I did this or no, I didn't. It's kind of more on like a scale of 1 to 10, how I feel about them. And I'm actually doing these off the cuff. Sometimes I've gone through and been like, oh, I'm gonna give this a 7. But I also think that I'm a little bit more honest if I just don't plan it out first. So number 1 is prioritize hobbies. That one, I feel like I did a really good job. I mean, maybe a 10 out of 10. Like, I have been enjoying the piano. I already talked about that. I have made a couple batches of cookies. I'm gonna make another batch for the Halloween party. And so I feel like that's kind of back into a rhythm and not just like one every 6 months kind of thing. Like, I wanted that to be where it felt more comfortable, and I was making them not totally from memory. Like, I'm still gonna reference the recipe, but it didn't feel like I was watching the like YouTube tutorial video every time. So that felt good. And then also the bath I threw in there. So overall, I feel really good about that one. Let's say like a 9 out of 10. The next one was spend less time on my phone. This one, I hesitate because the numbers are not that much lower than they were before, but it feels better. Like, it feels like I'm spending less time on my phone and doing other things instead, or just like ignoring my phone altogether. So maybe I'll give myself like a 7 out of 10. That one definitely is on the positive side, but definitely not perfect. They're never perfect, but you know what I mean. Okay, whereas the next one was to work on photo albums. I got through some photos on my phone, so maybe we'll give it a 1 out of 10. Next quarterly goal was to plan and host 2 parties. Now, when I did this quarterly goal, I don't know if Laken just thought, that version of me thought that October was part of Q4, and so I was gonna actually host the second party, because the 2 parties in my head were my daughter's first birthday and then our Halloween party. And while I have started planning and sent out invites for the Halloween party, I was never gonna host it in Q3. So what I could do for that one, it feels good. Like, I feel like I did a good job. The first birthday party was fantastic, everything was great, and the Halloween party is underway to be awesome. So I didn't quite achieve what I wrote down there, but what I wrote down there didn't make any sense, so 10 out of 10. Implement cleaning routine. I feel like I don't even deserve to give myself a 1. I really don't feel like I have implemented any new steps into my routine that I wasn't doing in Q2. So to rewind, which I talked about this in depth during this video where I talked about these quarterly goals, but the quick summary is I have a good rhythm of monthly and weekly tasks. And my goal in Q3 was to add more tasks in that were focused on cleaning. And I just didn't do it. So really it's like a 0 out of 10. And then the last one was to incorporate new meals. This one also maybe 1 out of 10 for like the 2 new meals that we tried. I think I did 2 new meals or things for Lila and like 1 for us. So that one was not very good either. So overall, I feel like I feel better than when I go through these, right? Like, I just went through my 6 personal goals and I felt like 3 were great and 3 were awful. And I feel like I rarely have like that 4 or 5 range. I'm always just like, yeah, 0, 1 or like 9 or 10. But you know what? That's life. And that is sometimes what happens. Here, I realize I have one more thing to say about personal. Overall, I'm not actually carrying any of these over to Q4. You'll see that in tomorrow's video. I'm tweaking the ones that I did not great on. Well, the photo albums, I guess I'm not. I'm actually, you know what's funny is I'm actually, like, if I put them side by side, you can't see it yet. It is like a slight tweak on all of them. I'm excited to share these with you. I think it will make sense. I have, the spoiler alert, like the same personal goals. I have the same 6 colors, and the 3 that didn't go super well, I am doing something similar, but like slightly tweaked. And then these 3 that did go well, it's something totally different. So I kind of love that. Awesome. Okay, let's move into my business goals. So I tried something different this quarter that worked so well for me. Like, I'm so excited. I don't know that I have seen the fruits of my labor yet, because I feel like there's always a delay with revenue that comes in, but I feel really good about even just some of the mental progress that I made business-wise in Q3. So the first thing that I did was I set 6 business goals as opposed to 3. It all worked in the time that I had, because some of them were not huge, giant goals, right? So the first one was a revenue goal. And that one wasn't like a new additional project. The steps behind that goal were the same recurring tasks that I do in my business on a regular basis. And then my goal was to hit a good, better, or best revenue goal. And as of the recording of this, I'm about halfway between the good and the better one. So the lowest one and the middle one. And that's okay. You know what? Sometimes the numbers don't come through. Summer is always typically lower in terms of months for me, and whereas Q4 is a lot higher. And so I feel really good about the numbers that I have. The next one, I felt okay doing 6 because the next one was really small. It didn't take up much time, but it was really important. And that was to do the annual survey. So every year I send out a survey to any members, anybody on my email list, asking for their feedback, what are their struggles, and then I take that information to create content in the future. And so even though this one wasn't a big time commitment, it was something that was important that I wanted to prioritize. So I made it its own goal. And that one was actually done in July, but feel good about that. The next one was the podcast. And this one also felt okay, like again, making a new goal, because this was always a part of my business, but it was tucked under the recurring tasks. And I pulled it out for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to really prioritize the podcast as not just like a time suck, but something that we were proud of and that we actually like worked towards and not just like did to get done, if that makes sense. So by having it as its own goal, I could do that and prioritize it. So the other thing that I did this year that I totally forgot to mention is I tracked, I'm not going to show you this because there's numbers on here that are private, but I put little dots on this tracker page and checked it off as the quarter went on. And this was hanging up in front of my desk. So not only could I see the progress I was making in terms of tasks on my Kanban board, but I could see the progress I was making on my quarterly goals with the check marks on this page. And that felt really awesome. So for the podcast, I did one for every episode that we were going to launch. And as long as I got the episode up on time with all the details in the description and all the things, I got the check mark. We ended up deciding to take a little bit of a break. That wasn't really the part of the plan. So some of them weren't checked off, and we still have 2 more episodes to go for September, but that feels good. And then the other piece of the podcast were side projects that I wanted to do, like little things behind the scenes, some of which we've shared with you. Also, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a podcast with my sister. It is not associated with my business. It is completely for fun with my little sister. But the work hours I spend on the podcast to me go into the business. Anyways, we did some side projects and I checked off 5 of 8 of those. And so that feels really good. The next goal was one of 2 like very project heavy goals. And that was to do some specific things for the Goals with Laken community. So to do some, updates to the sales page, to do some email marketing, to do a sale, and then a whole additional project that wasn't originally part of the quarter that ended up happening this quarter that I'm so proud of. And that is revamping the entire replay library. That was not originally on the Q3 plan, but it turned out even better than I could have imagined. And I'm glad that I felt capable to prioritize that. And I don't think that would have been true in prior quarters. I don't think I would have been prepared to work on that. So I had a goal for that one I had a good, better, best goal in terms of new community members, and very similar to the revenue goal. I wonder if those are related. I am about halfway between the good and the better. It is only September 17th. I could still hit that middle one depending on how many new members we get between now and the end of the month. But even if that's all, again, I feel really good about some of the behind the scenes projects that happened for the community. The next one was the planner launch. And this one's kind of hard to talk about, partially because I've done a lot of behind the scenes work for it, including working on the actual Goals with Laken planner, but it hasn't actually launched yet. And if you're watching this video the day that this goes live, first off, you are the best. The planner launches tomorrow. If you're watching it any day after that, the planner is live. The 2025 version is live. And so this had to be on my Q3 goals because it took up so much of my time in Q3 doing stuff behind the scenes. But I don't see any of that success, or like I haven't seen any of that come through yet, right? And so I can't really comment on it, right? Like, but it's not going to be a goal in Q4 because it will be launched on October 1st. So it's kind of this bizarre in between. I have no idea if I'm going to hit these numbers that I set, the good, better, or best numbers that I set. I have no idea, but the planner likely, depending on when you're watching this video, is up, which is so exciting. So check it out. Yay. And then the last business goal is the one that changed everything. And that was to actually set a goal to work a certain number of hours. And this, again, this is why I was able to do that separate project for the community. This is why I was able to do those side projects for the podcast. And this is why I finally feel good about balancing work and being a mom. I never thought I was gonna be an entrepreneur. Like that was okay, this is getting a little philosophical. This was not in the originally filmed version of this video. I always thought I was gonna be like a 9-to-5 mom. I don't know, that like that's what my mom did, and so I just like assumed that's what I would do too. Like I would have a 9-to-5 corporate job, and I would go to work, and my children would go to daycare, and then I would come home, and like that is what it would look like. And then I started a business, and then I grew that business, and then I realized that that business could contribute to our household income enough so that I could not work a corporate job. And then I had a baby, and I realized I don't want to spend 9-to-5 away from her. That's the beauty of working for myself, is I can work less hours and still contribute. But then once she was actually here, I really, really struggled with finding that balance and wanting both to grow my business and do these side projects, but also wanting to be with her all the time. Not that I don't think it's important to take breaks and have time away from your kids, but it's still, you still want to be with them. And so I struggled to find that balance. And so last quarter, I finally was like, you know what? Why don't you set a goal to work a certain number of hours? Be reasonable about it. Don't push yourself. You don't need to work 40 hours a week, but you can do more than you're doing now. And so you can do some of those side projects, right? Work above just the minimum hours to keep the business afloat. And so I set some numbers. I didn't even get close to those numbers. Not even close. I am, well, like it looks on the check marks as of last week, I'm 3/5 of the way the total numbers, like 60%. So I guess I still have 2 more weeks. So let's say I end up at 70%. Like that's not, again, not even close. But that's not the point. The point is that I did work more than I ever have, and I did achieve more than I ever had. And I finally figured out how to balance it and how to prioritize. And that is going to make a difference for the rest of the existence of my business. And I mark it here, Q3 of 2024 is what made all the difference. So that is it for this video. I feel like that end got a lot more high level than I intended, but I'm just really thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this business. I'm thankful for my goals, my goal system. So make sure that you are subscribed, because I'm also in the middle of filming a video that has been highly requested, which is how I plan my life, all of my business and personal goals and time management things from start to finish. That video will be up in a couple of weeks, and you can check that out. But until then, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. We talked a lot about water. So comment below with like a water emoji, like the little droplet emoji, if you made it all the way to the end. Thank you very much. I appreciate it more than you know. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. What am I trying to say there? That's grammar's not right. I didn't try on a regular basis. Just said the same thing again.